There's been a handful of times within Mantastic where someone's had a relationship with their dad. That's kind of been like a red traffic light, right? And the conversation has more or less been, I don't talk to dad. My dad's never told me that he loves me. And my answer back to that is always, so if you said to your dad, I love you.
All right, brother. Next role, what do we got?
Next role is customer service. Obviously, we know this from business in terms of being a legend in the minds of others in terms of how you look after your clients. I guess the way that we put a frame on it in winning in business and life is there's really three key areas that you got to look after as the head of customer service.
What are they?
Number one is your personal life. So if you think about it, like you've got your family, you know, best mate, your dad, your mum, your brother, your partner, your kids. We always use the traffic lights analogy, meaning like green traffic light means that stuff's legendary. It's sorted. You're looking after them. Orange is kind of like warning, we're starting to neglect. And red is just the relationship's just AWOL. It doesn't exist. It's non-existent. And so one thing that we often see is that, you know, you get these guys who are doing really well in business. From a customer service perspective, they're looking after their clients from the business point of view. But from the personal aspect of their own life, it's like the relationship's been neglected with their partner, the relationship's been neglected with their kids, which shouldn't just be kids. It's like each individual kid that you have. Relationship with mum and dad isn't as good as it could be, you know, in terms of time spent and, you know, keeping that traffic light green. We've had people who've come in and it's like, you know, even their best mate, someone who they value, who they wouldn't want to remove from their board table, the traffic light just hasn't been green because it's a relationship they've neglected because they've just got busy, life's taken over, so to speak. So really, this role is about being a legend in your personal life, looking after the people that you love. We always say it's a weird analogy, but love equals giving a fuck. So how much do you really show that you give a fuck to the people that are in your life that you love and care about?
It's so funny because how many of the guys get frustrated with their team at work, but they give so much effort to looking after their team. They love their family and genuinely want to be with them, but give no effort.
Yeah.
It comes down to a system, really, doesn't it?
Comes down to a system. And I think about like so many of our members as well, like that have, you know, prioritized themselves, you know, even embedded that really cool SOC training plan that works, that's a system for them, and getting that R&R in and kind of bringing the Mantastic version of them to the table. And their partners love it, you know, they start to create space and time. They're bringing a better them to the relationship. They're leaving work at work, starting to prioritize date nights and time with the family. And it rekindles the relationship to be like it was in the beginning, you know.
The honeymoon phase.
The honeymoon phase, which obviously has an effect when you go back to work, because if you're feeling good and life's good at home, typically you go to work and you're in a fucking good mood. When life's hard at home and you got to go to work, often you take that out on your team, work shits you, and then you go home and you take it out on home and you just got this neglected customer service on both sides, as opposed to, you know, having a really good relationship at home, really good relationship at work, and being on top of things. Going through the framework, we've got the personal side, so being a legend for all of the people that you truly love. Obviously on the business front, we've got clients and making sure that you look after them, you know, which I think being world class in that area from a business point of view now isn't assured, it's a must. Like you just have to, we all know the cost of acquiring a client, bringing someone into your world. Like you've got to look after them as though they're an absolute legend, because if you've done your marketing right, your sales process right, your business is right, like we know with Mantastic, chances are they are an absolute legend. So showing them the love. And then equally, you know, you look at team from a customer service point of view. No one wants to work for or be part of a business where their boss, you know, the person who owns the company, you don't know whether you're getting a Mr. Angry, a Mr. Happy, a short fuse, you know, like just being treated like shit. So we look at team, and really that's just about creating an epic culture with the people who are in your team, which obviously has a flow-on effect to, one, look after your clients, but two, if they do their job well and you look after them, the business runs well, which means you can spend more time at home. So customer service is really about the integration of managing each of those three. I know for us, like we both went through that phase of we're all work, and that's saying like whatever gets unattended to tends to dissolve. You look at our personal relationships, I'm thinking a specific phase, this is probably going back over a decade, but both of us can remember we'd neglected a lot on the family front.
For sure.
Yeah. Whereas now it's just something that's super prioritized because it's part of a system.
I remember there was a period where I didn't speak to dad for, 7, 8 years. And I thought I was tough. I thought I was strong and didn't need it. And it took a front stab from K-Man, actually.
Yeah.
A guy that has been a huge part of our board. And he said to me, who do you think that's affecting more? Do you think that's affecting your dad more? Or do you think that's affecting you more? And initially I said, well, it's affecting dad more. And he said, which in turn means it will affect you. So how about you do what's right for the situation, not just what's right for you? And now I have the most incredible relationship with my dad I have ever had.
Yeah.
But I think it took somebody seeing it from the outside to tell me what it actually was. And now I've just got my system built in with my dad. And yeah, like I said, the relationship's never been better. Yeah. So each of those areas, you need your own system, don't you?
100%. And I think something to not, underestimate is how much value that actually adds to your life. Like when you're younger, you kind of think your parents are going to live forever. You don't really, you just don't think about it, right? And then your parents start approaching 70 or get in their 70s. And as you just think to yourself, like, fuck, if I could get hold of myself in my 20s and give myself a solid front stab, I would collect the experiences. I would have the moments. I would do the trips. Like I look at when I prioritize customer service, I've been on a Hawaii trip with Dad. Dad and I have landed in LA and rented a Mustang and gone and done the American trip. I've been my mum's date, taking her over to Canada for a family wedding and then showing her around the States, riding a bike across the Golden Gate Bridge. Both of those relationships are nurtured now, and it's rarely a day that goes by without a phone call and listening and giving the greatest gift is, particularly as you get busy, which is your attention to those people, to know what's going on in their world. The same thing with our brothers, our sisters, or your brother, you're my brother.
Yeah.
I've only got a sister, Ames, but like creating that relationship. And I think it's like one of those things in business where people think, I've just got really busy with work and I will just leave that. But that's just a mindset that you have because there's not a system for it. And I think if you've got the system and you prioritize it, the value that it can add to your life is just...
It's extreme.
It's extreme. Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
There's no watch that makes you feel better than those feelings you had with your folks, eh?
Exactly. And for anyone listening, like you got the chance to make a magical experience and do something cool with your dad, with your mum, anyone on that customer service side, do it. Go for it. And there's been a handful of times within Mantastic where someone's had a relationship with their dad. That's kind of been like a red traffic light, right? And we've had a conversation that's like, and the conversation has more or less been, I don't talk to dad. My dad's never told me that he loves me.
It's something we hear quite a bit.
More often than you think.
Generational.
Yeah. And my answer back to that is always, so if you said to your dad, I love you, and quite often we get back, I'd never fucking say that to my dad. He's a hard ass. Like, what would he do? And I can tell you what, every time we always get, man, I called dad, or, I caught up in person with dad. I told him I love him. I gave him a hug, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and he broke down in tears and he said, son, I've wanted to say that to you my whole life. I just never knew how to say it.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden that bond is formed. We had one guy who'd had a relationship like that with his dad. He didn't know how to, how to repair it, kind of like how to start it really. So he organized a camping trip. And one of our suggestions was to write a letter. His relationship wasn't close yet with his dad, but he'd learned a lot from his dad. So he got this frame, put it together, and did the 5 best lessons I've learnt from dad and framed it. And he gave it to his dad and they had a beer and they just having a chat as they were going fishing. And he's just like, Tommy, best thing I've ever done. Now that's an annual tradition for him. So it's just being proactive with it. If we look at that from a customer service perspective with team, how often does business grow? And as your business is growing, you're bringing more team on. And then also you don't get to spend as much time with your team. It becomes about the business, it becomes about the numbers, it becomes about all the SOPs and the stuff internally, but you sort of lose that connection of who is this person, what's going on in their family, what are their goals, what's important to them. And, from a customer service point of view in our language, it's spending that time to dig deep and create that connection and prioritizing it.
Look, one stat that hasn't changed for as long as I can remember is people either stay on your team or leave your team as a direct result of you. Number one reason why people move on is because of you.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation we have within Mantastic quite often, because the natural thing for anyone to think is, why do I have such big turnover?
Yeah.
Why do people keep moving on? Well, it's directly because of number one.
Yeah.
You. So you're exactly right.
So what's the common denominator?
Yourself.
You are.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the interesting part with that as well, like you look back at SOC, R&R, having systems in your personal life. If you're a great dude, a fantastic dude who's high energy, and you're running an electric business that's got a good culture and it's just fucking cool to be around, people want to be part of that.
100%.
Equally, if you get on a bus and the bus is dirty, it's smelly, there's a bad vibe, it's not comfortable.
Prick the bus driver.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how soon do you want to get off? So it's not uncommon. And then I think with clients as well, right? It's like one thing that we've learned is, and I love the saying, I learned that from Winnow. I remember getting his CD back in the day, How to Be a Legend in the Minds of Others. And it's like with clients, clients is such an interesting word because we don't really actually use that internally at Mantastic.
No.
But it's like, the people who come into your business, we've got a pretty strict acceptance criteria, people we want to do life with, people we can genuinely get a result for. But you go the extra mile there. And now with social media and everything that's involved in how accessible like stuff can spread, no one can afford to do a bad job. So it's so easy to make someone feel like an absolute legend, you know, and it can be a text message, it can be a set of words. It's obviously can be built into your systems. And if you do all three really well, it's amazing the effect that can have on marketing, both from a business point of view, because people are referring. And it can also have that same effect from a personal point of view where it's like, you just got to meet this dude. He's different. The way he rolls, his energy, his attitude, like this is a fucking different guy.
Yeah.
And so that's customer service.